is part of your relationship with your partner or maybe with your child one where either you often find fault with something they are doing, something they're saying, something they're not doing, something they're not saying, or maybe the way they're saying it, the way they're doing it, or does this happen to you, that maybe your intimate partner or your child or young person often finds fault with you? Now, just to be clear, things that children do to us, we can have a very different expectation of them because there's a clue in the title, they are children. So is it okay for your child or your teenager to say things like, well, that's just because you're an idiot, or stuff along those lines, critical things? No, it's not okay, but we as the adult, as the parent, as the carer, meet that with real compassion, because that's how we can be their teacher and their guide. So when it comes from a child, it comes from a young person, of course it's not okay. They actually know it's not okay, but it's a real big sign that they in some way are struggling at the moment, that would come out of their mouths. So children and young people, very, very different. If it's coming from an adult, so you are in a relationship, a safe relationship, maybe, where your intimate partner is often saying things like, well, of course, if you didn't get in such a blooming state about things and you just, calmed yourself down and focused a bit more, actually, that's not okay. If maybe they're saying things like, well, the reason why I don't tell you that, or the reason I don't talk to you about that, is because you just don't have the bandwidth and the intellectual ability or the emotional ability to really understand what I'm saying to you. Now, that is not okay. That is a direct criticism of you. That's them deflecting onto you, your faults, your flaws. If you were just like this, things would be so much better. That, of course, happens, but it isn't okay. It isn't okay. And let's think about you. So if you are the person in a relationship who often is pointing out flaws and that you feel that your partner has, or flaws, or whatever you want to call them, faults, flaws, annoying things that they just need to know, I don't find it okay when you do that, because it just shows how insensitive you are and blah blah blah. So is it true from your perspective? Well, yeah, it is, clearly. Otherwise, why would you be saying it? Is it going to nurture a healthy, compassionate, respectful relationship? No, it is not. What a healthy, compassionate, respectful relationship should sound and look like is when we feel that rush of rage or irritation or frustration or whatever it is with our beloved other, we recognise, I am allowed to feel like this. I am completely allowed to feel like this, that yet again they have or haven't done blah blah blah. But then the focus should be on us allowing ourselves to feel the anger, the rage, the resentment, the disappointment, and then allowing it to go. Because 9 times out of 10, if not more than that, they will not have done or said the things intentionally to hurt us, to wind us up, to show that they don't care about us. Are there relationships where that's done? Yes. Those are, generally abusive relationships. But in other relationships, we can attach far too much meaning to them yet again not putting their mug in the dishwasher, yet again talking over us. We can, really find fault with that and get ourselves in a right old state. Whereas the reality was, Was it rude of them to talk over you? Well, if you felt like it was, then yes, it was. But the likelihood is that they just got very anxious or very fired up about something, and they accidentally did it. So it's really down to what you want. If you want to be in a relationship where you cannot wait to point out your partner's faults and flaws to them and criticize them and pull them up on stuff, well, knock yourself out. But I can tell you from, many people I coach around the world, but also my own experience in relationships, it doesn't bring any joy, it doesn't bring any connection. It's actually not very respectful. The most important thing to do is to get curious about why does my partner doing that make me think so badly of them and react in such an unkind or critical or judgmental, opinionated way towards them. That's the bit to get curious about. What's going on inside of you that you can't just feel that moment of frustration, irritation, anger, whatever it is, and then really more than anything in the universe, you want to just get yourself back, get rid of that feeling, let it go, feel it, let it go, and just come back to just loving them and accepting them as they are. They are not perfect, you are not perfect. And likewise, if you're in a relationship with someone who is hypercritical of you, then that does not mean that anything that they are saying is in any way true. It just means that they are someone who is not very good in their own skin. So they look out at you, at other people, criticize, blame, find fault with, correct, all that kind of stuff. Someone who feels very connected to themselves, very accepting of themselves, and pretty much, grateful just to flip and be alive. They do not go through life finding fault with others, particularly not with their so-called loved ones. It really, really isn't a thing. Or if it is, you very quickly realize, oh my gosh, I just said such a mean thing to them. Whatever was wrong with me? What is wrong with me? I need to sort myself out, go apologize to them, and own that, without explaining why I did, as in not saying, but the reason I did that was because. You might explain in terms of, I am so honestly so sorry. That was really mean of me to point out to you, or to say that I don't think you're even on the same intellectual plane as me. I think that you need to go away, and that was a really unkind thing to say. I am truly, truly sorry. To be honest, I'd leave it there. I wouldn't go into, but I've been under a lot of stress, and because that immediately means the apology is not a real apology. So just some insights for you to sit with. And if you think, I am the person that finds fault a lot and does a lot of criticizing and just isn't very comfortable with so many of the things that my partner does or doesn't do, which really I kind of deep down know is really more about me, then maybe it's time for you to take that step and find the kind of coach who will allow you not to be that way, so that you can have the really loving, respectful, compassionate relationship which you really desperately want, and you always aim to have every day when you wake up and get out of your bed.